All right, so let's talk about the Trinity. It can be a pretty confusing topic for some Christians to explain, so let's lay it out in a nutshell. This is the Trinity in 7 quick points. 1, there's only one God, not 3, not 50, just 1. 2, the Father is God. 3, the Son is God. 4, the Holy Spirit is God. 5, the Father is not the Son. 6, the Son isn't the Holy Spirit. 7, the Holy Spirit isn't the Father. Now, all of this might sound like a math problem gone wrong, but stay with me because it's not actually a contradiction. We're talking about one God in 3 distinct persons, and it all makes sense once you understand 2 key terms. First, there's essence. This is Godness. The Father, Son, and Holy Spirit share in the same divine essence. They're all equally and fully God. Next, there's persons. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are distinct individuals, not different masks or roles. So it's one God, 3 distinct persons. They live in perfect unity, and if your brain's overheating, don't worry. It's deep, but if an infinite God exists, we would expect him to be beyond our tiny little brains. But where's the word Trinity in the Bible, you ask? Okay, well, the word isn't there, but the theology of the Bible, Trinitarianism is everywhere. First, let's start with God's oneness. Deuteronomy 6:4, the Lord is one. Isaiah 44:6, same deal. The oneness of God is a running theme throughout the entire Bible. Next, the Father is called God throughout. John 6:27, Titus 1:4. Then we've got Jesus. John 1:1 hits us with, the Word was God. Jesus says in John 8:58, before Abraham was, I am. And his disciples didn't just nod politely, they worshiped him as God. Finally, there's the Holy Spirit. He's called God in Acts 5:3-4 and 2 Corinthians 3:17, and Hebrews 9:14 calls him eternal. So yeah, he's fully divine. The Bible even puts these 3 together in some major moments. For example, Matthew 28:19, baptize in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. 2 Corinthians 3:14 is a blessing that mentions all 3. In Ephesians 2:18, all 3 are involved in our access to God. No awkwardness, just Father, Son, and Holy Spirit working together united. Now, let's clear up some confusion and talk about what we don't believe. We're not saying that God appears in 3 different forms like he's switching costumes for a one-man show. That's modalism. Jesus doesn't pray to himself, okay? We also shouldn't think of the Father, Son, and Spirit are parts of a whole, like pieces of some kind of divine Voltron that comes together to form one God. That's partialism. We also reject Arianism, which says Jesus isn't fully God and was created. Spoiler, he's 100% God, begotten, not made. And no, we're not talking about 3 separate gods. That's polytheism, and that's in Mormonism, not Christianity. So why does this all matter? Well, the Trinity isn't just some theological brain teaser. You have to believe in it to be a Christian. Why? Because the God of the Bible steps into history. The Father sends the Son to save us, and the Holy Spirit empowered Jesus and comes to live inside of us. Without the Trinity, you lose the whole story of salvation. Now, some Unitarians and rabbinic Jews argue that the Shema shuts down the whole idea of divine plurality because it says God is one. But the Hebrew word for one in this passage, echad, doesn't necessarily mean a singular unity. It can refer to a compound unity, like when Genesis 2:24 says Adam and Eve became one flesh. Yep, there's that word echad again. Another objection is that the Bible consistently uses singular pronouns for God, he, his, him. So God can't be multi-personal, right? Well, this would be wrong again. Even Israel, an entire nation, is spoken of with singular pronouns at times. So singular pronouns don't lock God into a single person framework. Now, Muslims love to say that Tawhid, the oneness of Allah, is way more simple and that the Trinity is just way too complicated. But here's the truth. Islam's got its own issues when it comes to explaining God's oneness and distinctions. Muslim scholars have been going back and forth for centuries about whether the Quran is created or uncreated. The Mu'tazilites said that it was created to protect God's oneness, while the Asharis argued that it's uncreated because it's God's speech, one of his eternal attributes. The Ash'ari view won out, and most Muslims today believe that the Quran shares in Allah's divine nature. But here's the twist. If the Quran is distinct from Allah, but also uncreated, doesn't that create a whole oneness versus diversity issue? And that's not all. Allah is described as having distinct attributes like power, knowledge, life, will, mercy, justice, and anger. But Islam still insists on his absolute oneness. So how do all these separate attributes fit into God's oneness without breaking it? They say that every attribute is distinct, but somehow they all share in the same divine essence. Many just respond, Allah knows. Muslims love to throw shade at the Trinity, but their own theology has similar complications. And by the way, Muslims literally went to war with each other over these debates, like during the Mina Inquisition. So the next time someone says Islam's view of God is simple, don't buy it. It's way more complicated than they let on. Meanwhile, the Christian Trinity, one God, three persons, is exactly what Jesus and the apostles taught. Anyway, I hope this video helped. In future videos, we'll dive into the Old Testament and show how the Trinity isn't just a New Testament thing, it's all throughout there too. Thank you so much for watching.